Welcome to the Women's Motorsports Network podcast, the show that puts the spotlight on the incredible women who fuel the world of motorsports. From drivers to crew members, engineers to fans, and everyone in between, we're here to celebrate the trailblazers, dreamers, and doers shaping the sport we love. Each episode, we share inspiring stories of females of all ages from every corner of the motorsports universe, past, present, and future. It's a journey through the seasons of life filled with heartfelt moments, laughter, and a whole lot of horsepower. So, whether you're a lifelong fan, a racer yourself, or simply curious about the extraordinary women behind the wheel, settle in, relax, and enjoy a fun and uplifting ride with us. This is the Women's Motorsports Network podcast, connecting and celebrating women in motorsports, one story at a time. Let's hit the track.
If you're looking to buy, sell, or trade the stuff that strokes your engine, anything from truck parts to classic and muscle cars, RVs to hot rods, and everything in between, then check out our official classifieds at racingjunk.com. Racingjunk.com is the world's #1 online racing and performance marketplace, the ultimate one-stop shop where you'll find what you need to rock your ride. If it belongs in your garage, it's for sale on racingjunk.com. Log on to racingjunk.com to find the gear you're looking for, sell your extra stuff, keep up on racing news and tech tips, and more. Again, that's racingjunk.com.
Hello, everyone. This is Melinda Russell with the Women's Motorsports Network podcast. And my guest today is Gray Leadbetter. And I was talking to Gray before we got on here and recorded and said, Gray, I've been following you for a long time. I just can't believe I have never had you on the show or in the magazine. So I don't know what I was doing or how I let that fall through the cracks. But we're going to catch up today. So, Gray, I want to welcome you to the show. And would you first tell us a little bit about yourself, your family, your pets, anything you're willing to share?
Yeah, of course. But first off, thank you for having me on here. I'm glad we were able to pull it off. I'm sitting at a racetrack right now, actually.
Of course you are.
But I have two older sisters. One is a PA and one is an esthetician. So we all took very different career paths, that's for sure. I have a dog that I love more than anything. I live in North Carolina. I don't want to move. I've traveled a lot of places, and I don't think I ever want to move anywhere. Um, I graduated from On Track School, which is the online school that I think it's made its way big into the motorsports world now.
Mm-hmm.
But I started school. I started with them in 5th grade and went all the way up through graduation. So they were a big help. Plus, their graduation's at a motocross race, so why not?
Is it really? That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So the AMA Pro Nationals is where they are. So they do their graduation because it started from dirt bikes and it obviously is now ventured into everything else. But they have their graduation at a dirt bike track. But you're homeschooled and get a real graduation, so it's pretty cool.
That's very cool. That's very. I've heard of that school before, so yeah, it has become very popular. I know that's for sure.
It has a ton. It was very grateful. It's why I've done it for why I'm able to be racing where I am.
Yeah, because really, when you think about it, back when you were in 5th grade, which however many years that was, it's still online school wasn't a big thing.
No, it wasn't at all. We went through. I think I actually found them through somebody else. And then we just started with them going into my 5th grade year. I think we did one other school for like a semester, and I didn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
But the on track stuff, it gets you the opportunity to travel with it, and every single teacher and every single person within the school understands racing, and they
Yeah,
understand
that's good.
sports in general. That if you're at an event and you can't be there or you can't do your schoolwork, you just tell them, and they're like, okay, like just do it next week. It's not a big
Yeah.
deal. So.
So now, do they incorporate things that apply to motorsports in your schooling, or is it more just like regular school?
No, it's regular school. It's math,
Yeah.
science, history, all the regular classes.
Okay.
You take a language. You take basically they have a bunch of electives like drawing and photography and everything like that. They might have added more. I graduated 3 years ago, so
Yeah.
they might have
Okay.
added more since then. But
Yeah, pretty cool. And what a great way for kids to be able to do school and do what they love, because that's, a lot of times kids when younger don't even know what they want to do, but when you're passionate about motorsports, I find that kids at a very young age realize that that's what they want to do. And
Absolutely.
so it makes it so much easier for them to get through school. That's great for sure. So you've been racing for quite a while. Tell me your racing story. How did you get started? Who influenced you to start? Tell me where you were at the beginning to where you are tonight.
Well, I started racing when I was 4 years old, which that's the youngest you can race. But
Yeah.
how I got into it was, so none of my family is a part of motorsports. They've never raced a day in their life. I have no background, background of racing whatsoever in my family, and so we wanted, I wanted a plastic toy car that you get at Walmart that like 2-year-olds have, and my parents said no. Because they didn't want to listen to the plastic tires on our gravel driveway.
Mm-hmm.
So instead, we had friends that raced dirt bikes, and they were like, "Hey, you can get her this little 4-wheeler, and it's pretty small. You can ride it at 2 years old." So I turned 2 years old, and we got a 4-wheeler, and I started riding that around everywhere. Like, I would not stop bugging my parents to let me ride this thing at 2 years old. I wish I could remember it, but supposedly that's what they say. And so I fell in love with it. And then since we had friends that raced dirt bikes, they were like, "Hey, get her a PW50 at 3 years old." So I started riding that. And then once I got off training wheels, I started riding more and liked it. And so they were like, "Hey, put her in a race." And so I went to race, and then I liked it. And then I went and raced. And I raced dirt bikes all the way up until I was around 8, 9, 10 years old-ish. We started going to the local indoor go-kart track when I was around nine-ish, and because it was raining all summer and I couldn't ride my dirt bike, and so instead I went to race go-karts, and I liked that. So then we started going to the outdoor go-kart track, and I raced outdoor go-karts, and I liked that. And then we went to Millbridge, which is the local track in Salisbury, and I drove an outlaw kart, and so then I started racing those because I fell in love with that. And you can kind of see the theme here.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
pretty much anything that I've gotten in, I've been able to race, which I'm very thankful for. Thankful for my dad for that. But I've just kind of fallen in love with everything that I've gotten into. And eventually that led me to side-by-sides to race off-road, because we were in Austin, Texas at the 2015 X Games, Summer X Games, and I saw Rallycross for the first time. And I was like, when they had it in X Games still, and I was like, I want to do that. And I was 9 years old, 10 years old. And I was like, I want to do that. Well, they couldn't do it until you were 14 or 16 at the time. And so instead we got a side-by-side, which was sequential shift, which was similar to the rally cars. And then we met Johnny and Kathy Greaves, and I started racing with them, and now here I am. And it's just,
So what are you racing this weekend?
so we're racing the Pro-Lite truck, which is what I've been racing all summer.
Yeah. Yeah. And what series is that you race in?
Champ Off-Road.
What's it again?
It's Champ Off-Road.
Champ Off-Road. Yeah. Okay.
It's the series all around the Midwest.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to California this year, so it's leaving the states.
That's not the Midwest for sure.
No, we're leaving 3 states that we always race in, and we're making our way to California in September. So.
Wow. So you still live in North Carolina?
Yep.
And so what states have you raced in so far this year?
This year we raced in Missouri, we raced in Wisconsin and Minnesota, and then we'll race in Michigan in 2 weeks, and then we'll go to California in the end of September.
And where in Michigan are you going to race?
Bark River, which is Upper Michigan, Upper Peninsula.
Okay. Because I live in Kalamazoo, but that's a long way away.
It's far away. I almost went there for the when they do the Night of Destruction at the Speedway over 4th of July.
Darn it.
I know. I was almost going to go, and then I didn't. Maybe next year.
Yeah, maybe next year. We have to let me know because I live 15 minutes from the racetrack. So
Yeah.
That's a great racetrack for sure. Yeah.
I've always wanted to make it, but I think I've only been to Lower Michigan like once.
Okay. Well, it's beautiful, and when it's not storming like it is tonight. So it's normally sunny and bright out, and right now it's almost dark. So yeah, and it shouldn't be dark yet, but anyway, for sure. So I'm going to go back. So you at 2 years old you started racing, and then you just kept moving up and up and up and up, and your parents had to see that you were really serious about this, even though if my 4-year-old had said I want to do this, I'd have probably been like, yeah, right, whatever. So they bought into it, that you really were serious about, that you loved racing.
Yeah, they supported me all the way through. I mean, I'm very grateful for it. I wouldn't be here without them. But when you're on dirt bikes at that young of an age, it's not a serious thing. And my dad, up until probably 4 years ago, was like, this is not like a profession. And not to me, but like to other people, because other people are like, she's good, like she's going to want to keep doing this, and like warning him that like I'm gonna end up somewhere. And he was like, no, it's fun. It's just for fun. It's just for fun. And now here we are.
Yeah.
But all the way up until I was probably 15 years old, 14 years old, that's what he was saying. It's like, it's fine. It's just for fun. Like we're just enjoying this. And now here we are. So that's kind of how dirt bikes were the whole time. And then I eventually started missing so much school that I had to become homeschooled. And so in 4th grade, my dad was like, if you do this, this, and this, like most parents, it's like, if you ride your bike every day, or if you do this, or you take care of the dog, or whatever, you can be homeschooled. And so I did that, and I rode my bike what felt like every day at the time. And so I became homeschooled, and then I never went back, and I never had the desire to go back. And I was always traveling 24/7 after that point. So
who traveled with you?
Well, up until I was 12 years old, my dad traveled with me. And then at 12, I started flying by myself. So I would fly.
Wow.
I would go out and train with Buddy Rice in Arizona, and I would it's a direct flight from Charlotte. So I would do the unaccompanied minor thing, walk to the airport with a parent, get on with the flight attendant, fly over there, have somebody meet you at the gate.
Yeah.
So when I turned 14 and I was able to be by myself, it was like heaven.
It was like, I'm an adult now at 14. Yeah.
It was so nice to be able to fly by myself. But yeah, I've really been traveling a lot by myself. I'm thankful enough to be able to do it with my boyfriend now. We travel and do everything together. We went over to Saudi Arabia last year when I raced Extreme E with Travis Pastrana. That was a cool experience.
That had to be very cool. He's amazing. I went to an event in Phoenix that he put on probably maybe 4 years or more ago. It was like the weekend after the NASCAR Cup race. And my 2 daughters live out there. And so I happened to be out there, and I went because Kyle Busch is my favorite driver, is one of my favorite drivers. And he was racing in that with Travis. And what a cool thing to watch. They were running, it was dirt, and they were running, they were jumping over these things. And it was just really, really fun to watch. So, and then he was supposed to be in Kalamazoo.
Yeah.
That's probably why you were thinking about coming. And then it got rained. Whatever he was coming for got rained out. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened, but yeah, that's why I was going to be there.
Yeah, I figured as much for sure. So, you're racing a truck.
Yes.
I love trucks. So when I first started getting into racing, and I started going to Kalamazoo Speedway more seriously, there was a guy that ran a truck, and he ran it with a bunch of cars, and he was the only truck. And he was my favorite driver because he was driving a truck. I just thought that was cool. And then, I followed the truck series in NASCAR, and I really liked them because I thought they were much more like grassroots racing than anything else. And then Carson Hocevar is from my town. And so, I really got interested when he was driving. But what made you go the truck route? How did that happen?
Well, I was racing with Johnny and Kathy Greaves in 2021, and CJ was moved, or I guess CJ and Johnny Greaves, either or. CJ was going to be moving to Polaris the following year, and because he went from Yamaha to Polaris, and I was racing a Yamaha, and I was like, well, they were like, you can't be under our tent just because of sponsorship obligations. Like, they're like, you can't be under our tent if you race a Yamaha. and he's on her Polaris. And I was like, okay. Well, just so happened to be a few races later, Ryan Beat comes up to me. He pulls me over to his tent as I'm walking by his tent. He calls me over. I honestly didn't really know who he was at the time. I mean, I knew his name, but I don't think I'd ever spoken to him. And I was 17 at the time, and 16 at the time. And he called me over, and he was like, hey, there's this new pro spec coming up. Chevy would like a driver under my tent, and I've been watching you come up through the ranks, and I think you're doing really good. Would you have any interest in racing it for us next year? And I thought about it, and he happened to also live in North Carolina. He had just moved from California, and now he lives an hour away from me, and I was like, that's convenient.
Yeah.
So we got through the racing season after Crandon, and a few months go by, and I kind of didn't forget about it, but it was just kind of at a standstill. And I messaged him, and I was like, hey, does the offer still stand? And so he was like, yeah, come by the shop here in the next few days or the next week, whenever you have time, and come check it out and see what you think. I went down to the shop, and then next thing you know, I was getting fitted for this Pro Spec truck, and was looking to race it the following year in 22. And it was a blast. I absolutely loved racing the truck. We were able to win the championship our first year, and then the second year, I finished third. But going into last round, I think we were all three tied for points pretty much.
Wow.
So it was a good year. I absolutely loved racing the Pro Spec truck, and we took a year off last year to go race Can-Ams and move back into the side-by-sides. My boyfriend and I, we were able to do it all by ourselves. He's a moto guy. He didn't know anything about side-by-sides and took on the adventure with me. It was literally just us two showing up at the racetrack, and that was it. So that was an eventful experience. I'd never ran a race team. I mean, there's only the two of us, but I've never ran a race team by myself. So that was a learning curve. It was really fun, and I'm grateful to have gotten to do it. But then the opportunity came back up, and Ryan was like, hey, do we have a truck? If you're willing to buy it, we can put you under our tent, and you can race with us again. And so here we are.
Wow. You and your boyfriend. So there's a lot more to a race team than what you think.
Yeah. I mean, I always knew I'm grateful to have been around the grades and around Ryan. I always knew how it worked. It was just doing it ourselves with just the two of us. I mean, we didn't have a hot pit. We had friends that helped us out. We had friends that helped us out, made us food every night at the racetrack. We would just mingle off of them, which I'm so grateful for them and everybody that helped us out last year. But there's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah, there really is. But what great experience for you to have, because moving forward, as you race more, you're going to probably own your own team here at one of these days, and you'll have that experience behind you for sure.
For sure. It was something I'm very grateful to have gotten to experience, and especially we were 19 and 22 at the time.
Wow.
So it's for just the two of us, it was interesting.
I find though that, and it's never 100%, but I do find that girls, since I've interviewed more girls, I don't know about the boys, but girls mature faster that are in motorsports. They're much more mature for their age, I should say. The ones that have grown up racing, being involved. And I think a lot of it comes because they've gained confidence. They've had to learn how to speak. They are around a lot of adults, I mean, when you think about it, a team is mostly adults helping a kid. And so I find that, you're mature beyond your years a lot of times if you've been involved in motorsports.
Oh, I agree 100%. I think I'm around kids my own age back at home or just in general in public, and I'm not saying anything against them, it's just how you grow up, and I definitely think there's a big change around it. And especially, which I didn't go to high school either, so I wasn't around the drama, I wasn't around all of that type of stuff that you get in high school, and I think that also helped. Just for maturity level, if you're not, I'm not around kids my own age, around all adults for the most part.
Yeah. Well, that'll do it for sure. But I was going to ask you, when you said you didn't go to high school, junior high, all that. Yeah, there's a lot of things that I'm glad you didn't have to experience, but there's also a lot of things you missed. Did you ever regret? I mean, everybody's going to prom or football games or different things. Did you still attend or have friends as part of that, or really you were just you're just like, nope, I'm doing this, and those were all a different life.
Yeah, it was. I think when I was younger, it was really hard when I just had transitioned into. I think it would have been easier if I would have transitioned going into middle school rather than missing the last year of elementary school and having all my friends and watching them go through it. I did miss it a lot. I don't think middle school I really was. It really was an issue. Going into high school, there was definitely times that I missed, like the what is it? The theme week. I can't even think. Spirit week, stuff like
Spirit
just
week.
like the silly little things that you get in high school, going to parties, going to this, doing that. Like there was definitely times I miss it, but then I just try to look at life that I have now and what I'm doing, and I'm like, yeah, but I'm also already here and I've gotten to travel the world and I've done all these things. So it's a love-hate relationship. There's definitely times, and even still now, like with college, because I don't go to college, there's times where I'm like, yeah, I kind of wish I'd get to experience it. But then again, like I get to be at a racetrack almost every weekend. So
yeah.
But
and you know, there's a thing called the college of life, and that's kind of what you're learning, right? Yeah.
for
And
sure.
nothing against college. I encourage people to get as much education as they can. But I also know, just from my granddaughter being in college, and she brought her accounting over one time, and I was like, you're never going to use this.
Yeah.
If you actually get into an accounting job at a company, you're never going to use this. And so her mom probably didn't think that was a good thing to say, but it was the truth. But you know, there's things that they have to teach you and whatever. And so um, you're learning things like how to run a race team by actually doing it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It's much better than words on a book. It's
absolutely.
get like the real life experiences and everything. And honestly, like prom was one of the things that I was sad that I missed, but I had a friend that was still in high school at the time and they invited me to their high school prom, and we were there for I think 20 minutes and then we left. And then the school, on track school, so they actually have a prom also at during graduation week at the race that they have it at. So I got to experience that prom, which that one was actually really fun.
Okay, so that's good. I don't feel bad for you now, because you still got to experience some of that stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that one was a blast. They have it. So what's interesting is they have it from freshman year to high school or to senior year, because they don't have that many kids. So they just invite the whole high school that's at the track racing to come in and experience it. And so they were playing songs, and there were kids that I didn't think were that much younger than me, but were in for like as freshmen, and they didn't know what was playing. And I was like, am I old? It's like the difference between 4 years can make us wild.
Oh, it can be a huge difference, and you wouldn't think so, but it really can.
Yeah.
So what's been your proudest moment so far?
There's a few. I think the race team thing last year was a big one, is making it through that, and really not having any issues. Going overseas and racing in Saudi Arabia with Travis was a huge one. I mean, although we're able to do stuff together now and we film videos with each other all the time on his channel 199 stuff, like he was still my idol growing up. And if you would have told little old me in fourth grade that I would be racing with him on this, like physically racing with him as we switch co-drivers midway through, I would have told you were crazy.
Yeah.
So that was definitely a big one. And then racing the truck, winning the championship my first round, and I think throw it back to even Rallycross in 2019 when I raced that, because that was still like I said earlier, when we were at X Games when I was 10 years old and I was watching that, I was like, that's the what I want to do. And to have the opportunity to have gone to race that is still nuts to me.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So you've been in this a long time, you know. I mean, I don't want to make you sound like you're as old as me, but if you started when you were 2 years old, kind of 2, 3, 4 years old, you know, and now you must be about 19.
I'll turn 21 this year in December.
Okay, you'll turn 21 this year. So you think about how many years you've been in racing. How has the how have things changed the way women are treated? Have you seen anything different? Has it evolved? Or were you always pretty much accepted because you've been racing so long? How can you speak to that a little bit, or was it never an issue?
I think when I was younger, it was more of like a question about it. Now, I think there's so many women in motorsports now that it doesn't get as questioned as much. Now, there's still times where you go beat. I have some pictures on the podium a few years ago when I won the championship of the guys that I'm racing against that are in their mid 30s to mid 40s, and they like as I'm standing on the top of the box and they're a little angry about it. But I mean, for the most part, I think everybody treats me the same way. I mean, I've always looked at myself as the same way as everyone else. I mean, we're here to drive. Once you put a helmet on, you're a driver. You're not. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who you are. And I think in motors, and it depends on the sport, because I think in terms of obviously if you go to soccer, tennis, or whatever it is, yeah, there's men and women's sports because you're different physical levels. Like that's just how it is. But once you go into motorsports, once you put a helmet on, that's what you're doing. It doesn't matter who you are, and that's the one thing that I love about the sport. But in terms of being treated, I don't think there's definitely been times over the years, but for the most part, I feel like it's all pretty equal.
Yeah. Do you feel any pressure at all? Like if you're going into a race and you're the only girl, do you feel pressure to show that you can keep up with them, or are you just there focusing on what you're supposed to do?
That's pretty much it. Once I put the helmet on, like I just focus on what I'm supposed to do, and I don't really think about it. I mean, there's definitely times where people will race you more aggressive, this, that, and another. But at the same time, like we're all racing for the same thing. We're all trying to get to the same place, and I think that's just really what my mindset is on it. I don't try to think, oh well, now when I do win, is it that much cooler? Yeah. But either way, no matter how I do on the track, you always have the little girls coming up to me in the pits. There's some that have been around for 4 years that will basically live in the tent if I would let them.
Yeah.
They will stay there and they will not leave my side. And so that's really the biggest thing about being is just showing the inspiration to the little girls. And that's my favorite part about the sport.
Yeah, that was going to be one of my questions, so you just answered it. You know, what do you say to a little girl who wants to be just like you, and you say, just work hard, start.
Everyone has the power to do it.
Yeah. So what does a typical race weekend look like for you? You drive, I'm assuming you have a motorhome or something that you drive to the track, right?
Yeah, we have. So this Sprinter van, actually, that I'm in right now, is just a Mercedes-Benz Sprinter van, and it has the bed in the back. It comes down. We put the toolbox, because we bring our own tools from home also, in a pit bike. So we put the tools underneath that. The bed goes down on top of it. It has a fridge. This is a shower behind me, and this is it. And in front of me is just the two front seats. So we bring this to and from North Carolina. We normally drive back and forth every time. And this is what we live out of.
And then it pulls the hauler that has your truck, or does that get there some other way?
No, Ryan takes that with the team. So that'll go in the big semi and everything else. So we just really get to drive this, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, that's good then. That's not like having a big motorhome going down the road or having to pull a trailer. So that's good for sure. So how do you prepare mentally, physically, before a race, or maybe even through the year? What do you do to stay in shape, and then to make sure that your head's in the right place? Because that can be something that, people can mess with you, and then that'll be part of the issue. So being strong mentally and physically is important.
Yes, for sure. I mean, I try my best to go to the gym. Thankful enough, I have one at my house that I try to go into every time I'm home. On the road, it's obviously a lot more tough. But for the most part, physical is a big fitness thing, or it's a big mental block, really. I struggle more with mental side of it than anything than physical. I don't think I've really truly, thankfully, been in a position where I've struggled physically. It's just, for me, whenever I race, which sounds silly and a lot of people call me crazy for it, I don't think about the race probably 2 hours prior to literally when I get in and I put my helmet on 5 minutes before we go on track. I laugh, I try to giggle, I try to think about anything else but racing. And then as soon as I put my helmet on, that's when I flip the switch and then I start driving. And everything just falls into place.
Well, sometimes if you overthink it, you're going to think yourself out of being successful.
Exactly. I learned that probably a few years back. I was just like, I can't, if I sit here and I overthink it and I overanalyze and I don't drive to the best I can, because I'm thinking, well, what if I did this wrong, or what if I do this, or what if I do that, and then I just drive all over the place and I'm not thinking straight.
Yeah.
So if I just try to zone out up until that.
That's good. I think that's a good plan. Do you have any superstitions or pre-race rituals?
I don't think so. There's probably, I always like do this with my hands, or like do this type of stuff before I go out and like push it up against the steering wheel. I don't think it's like a superstition or anything. It's just something that I do every single time, and I didn't really notice it until I was watching GoPro footage back one day, and I'm like, I do that every single time before I go on the track.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's any true superstitions or anything.
Okay. So everybody has a bad night at the racetrack. This is a question I ask everybody that I interview. Racing is the one sport that you do not win 100% of the time.
Absolutely.
So when you have a bad night, or when, how do you stay motivated to go back, keep working hard after you've had a bad night or a bad weekend?
I normally will come into this van and just be alone for anywhere from 5 minutes to an hour. It depends on what happened. If it was my mistake, if it was somebody else's, if it was just something that happened on track. I normally just come in here and I'll sit in silence and I'll just sit with my thoughts for a little bit. And then once I've calmed down, or once I've gotten over it, I'll go back out. We'll discuss it. We'll figure out what happened, or if the truck needs to be fixed, we'll figure out that. And then I just go on with the night, because at the same time, it already happened. You can think about what happened if it was your own mistake. But if it was a racing incident or whatever, like there's nothing you can do about it. It happened, it's over, and you just move on to the next day. And that's kind of the one thing that I try to keep going, because if you're not having fun and you're not able to have fun, why do it?
Exactly. I love that. I love that statement, that attitude. So
it's a very expensive sport to not be having fun doing.
well, that's true. And it can be very frustrating at times, but if you don't remember the fun times, or even during frustrating times, it can still be fun, right? And you might be all upset at the time, but when you look back on it, you're like, that was really fun. And so you can't just focus on those. It's got to be, if it's not fun anymore, you got to stop doing it for sure.
Exactly. It's like missing the stuff from high school. It's like, well, I'm also doing something pretty fun too. So it's not like I'm missing out on too much.
No, for sure. So where are you going to be in 5 years?
Shoot, that's a loaded question. My life has taken me to the dirt. I love the dirt. That's kind of where I ended up at the moment. But as I've always said, and I've said forever, I will race anything that I've given the opportunity to do. I would love to end up in a Pro 2, a Pro 4 in this off-road stuff. That would be a literal dream. But other than that, I've raced a lot of stuff. I did do some asphalt stuff in 2018, I believe. I drove a late model in an ARCA car. And I love racing, legend cars, and I'd love to race a sports car at some point. But I'm kind of just here at the moment, and I'm trying to take it day by day and just enjoy it. But also, like I said, if an opportunity arises, I'll take it. It's like moving into the truck when I did in 22.
Yeah. So when you said you don't think about racing till like you get in the truck. So you get in the truck. Are you calm? You're focused? Or are you nervous and a little bit hyped up?
It depends. I think it fully depends on the track conditions, if it's raining or if it's dry or whatever. It also depends on starting position. I think starting first is the scariest place to start, because you can only go back. If you're not winning, you only went back. If you're starting last, there's no pressure. You can only move forward. I think that plays a big role in it, and I think how you did the day before plays a big role in it. For the most part, I try to stay calm. I think I am a fairly calm person, or at least on the outside I am. Normally, if I'm not speaking before I race, that's when I get nervous.
Okay. Yeah. I love, when you say you don't really think about it until you get in the truck. And that doesn't mean that you haven't thought about it prior. because you know where you're going to race, and you look at you look at the track and you learn about the track and you do all those things. But when you say, right before the race, a couple hours before the race, you try to just be relaxed and have fun. And I think that probably is one reason why you're successful, because you're ready for it to start, but you're not like crazy, about everything that's happening. So I love that part about you, Gray. That's cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I've told a lot of people that, and some people call me crazy, and some people are like, that's smart. And so
Hmm.
I've gotten mixed emotions about it, but it helps me, and that's really what matters in my eyes.
Yeah. So do you give your truck a name? A lot of people name their cars. Does your truck have a name?
It does not. I have never been one to name a vehicle. Actually, I think I had one side by side, and I named it Meg, and it was because it looked like it was right after the Megalodon movie came out, and it looked like, because it had the same color formation as the Megalodon, and so I named it Meg, and I think that's the only vehicle I've ever named.
Okay. That's something that a lot of people do and a lot of people don't. They just but I like to ask that question because I've gotten some really fun answers to that. So when you've been at the track, what's what's been the most maybe creative or difficult thing that you've had to fix so that you could get back on the track?
Hopefully it goes the same this weekend. We've had no issues with the truck. The one thing about truck is all the panels are fiberglass, so we have to stitch them together and find ways to put them back together so you don't go spend another $500 buying another body. So we will make any way that we can, whether it's taking aluminum sheets, putting them behind them, if it's whether it's using old fiberglass panels and putting them behind them, and we've glued them together, we've taped them together, we've used zip ties to put them together, and that's where creativeness is much needed around the trailer.
Hmm. Zip ties and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, we were making a joke that we need a Band-Aid sponsorship and just plaster it every single time there's a patch on the truck, and the whole thing will probably be covered, honestly.
That's a pretty cute idea. Absolutely. So let's talk about your sponsors. I happen to know one of them or have met one of them recently. Do you want to share about your sponsors and all what they do to help you?
Yeah, so you just met Josh with Freedom Race Lift. He helped us a ton out last year, supplying us a lift. And honestly, we don't use them much for the truck, coming soon, but not
Yeah.
announced yet. For the truck lifts, but for the side by side, it lifts all four tires up off, and then you don't have to worry about it. There's no jacks, there's no this, there's no that, and it's perfect, honestly. And I've also Pepper Palace. They are a hot sauce company based out of Gatlinburg, Tennessee. And although it's a very small company, it is widely distributed across the whole entire U.S. But in the office, there's only about 30 people, and they only make 100-gallon batches. So every single hot sauce is the exact same, and they all are the same. They're all together, and there's never really mess ups. And that's one thing that's really cool about them. We actually have a video coming out soon, and I went into one of their stores at Mall of America, and I tried every single hot sauce, or nearly, and I'm not a spicy person. I'm like a mild to maybe hot person, and there was one point that I couldn't talk because it just kept feeding it to me, and I was like, I can't breathe.
Yeah.
So we have some fun with them. We actually went and handed out a bunch of hot sauces to the people at ERX the last race. And then On Track School is actually a sponsorship also. Obviously, we talked about them a bunch. They've helped a ton.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it. Yokohama is the next biggest one. They supply tires to me and keeping me up on the track on all four corners. But besides that, we're just trying to make it ourselves. We're trying to make it through the season, find what we can here and there. But
Yeah.
it's an eventful time. We're trying to find budget. I think everybody is in the same position.
Yeah, they really are. And I love that a small company sees the value in
Absolutely.
sponsoring. And the other thing is, like you said, what a fun company.
Yeah, I love working with them. We had one of their media guys come out to ERX, and also the chief of marketing come out, and they were having a blast. Like, I'm like,
Sure.
they like to party, they like to go to tailgates, and I'm like, well, you're at the right place, because there's some people that are in the back that don't even make it to the racetrack.
Right.
They're here to party, and oh, by the way, there's a race happening.
So it's funny you mentioned about the hot sauce. So there's a company called Melinda's Hot Sauce.
Really?
And we've been talking back and forth about them becoming a sponsor for me, because first of all, Melinda's not that common of a name, and they sent me some hot sauce, and I'm like you, I can't do the hot sauce, but I can do the anywhere up to maybe past medium a little bit.
Yep, that's how I am.
But they have some really interesting products, and to find, and I was like you, I was like, I could do so many fun things, promoting that with the name and stuff. So we'll see how that goes. But
that's really cool. A partnership that has anything to do with food is always a good time.
Always a good time.
It's super easy, and just and honestly, I'll put the hot sauces out under the tent, and they'll be gone by the end of the weekend, because everybody uses them whenever we eat lunch, dinner, breakfast. Even there were people that put it on eggs. They use it all the freaking time, and so it's a good time to have them on board.
Yeah, it is. That's fun. So Gray, I know I promised you around 30 minutes, so we've gone over, which is okay. I love being able to talk to you, but what have we not talked about that we really need to let people know about you and your racing? And then also the social media part, how can people follow you?
Everything on social media is just my name. There's nothing special about it. You can find me on every single platform, I believe. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, everything. I don't think there's any. I feel like we covered a lot. I don't think there's anything in particular that we missed. I think the Extreme E stuff was the one thing that we briefly went over, but I was able to do that with Travis Pastrana under Jimmy Johnson's team, basically, along with Legacy Motor Club. That was just a really cool experience. Hopefully we're back on board for sometime soon. I'm not sure what the series is doing, because they switched from electric to hydrogen, but hopefully that's able to come back up. But besides that, I think we covered everything.
Yeah, and there was a lot to cover.
Yeah, we're 40 minutes in.
Yeah, you've done a lot in your short lifetime, for sure. Yeah, lots of fun and good memories, and way more to come.
Yeah, absolutely.
So now you have to promise me, when you come to Michigan, you have my information. You're going to let me know. Yes. And we'll meet up for sure. And hopefully you can make that happen. I just hope you have a great rest of the season. I'm so proud of what you're doing. And, you're not relying on a lot of other people to take care of it for you.
Yeah, I try to do mostly everything that I can myself. Obviously, the working on the truck physically is a different story. But as far as sponsorships goes and getting to and from the racetrack and stuff like that, I try my hardest to do it myself with what I can. I have help. My dad's my biggest help. He's my biggest supporter of all of it. And then there's a few other people behind the scenes, but I try to keep it all within myself as much as I can.
So Gray, we really didn't talk about your mom. How did she feel about her little 5-year-old girl racing?
So on dirt bikes, I think she was a little nervous. I ended up breaking my shoulder at 7, which didn't help anything. But up until when I got into cars and I had a roll cage, she was all about it. She loved it. She was like, this is fine now. Which, funny enough, her only request of me growing up was I had to play one normal sport at some point in my life. And so it was soccer. I don't know why they decided that was a good thing. I don't like running. So it lasted for, it felt to me like 2 weeks. I'm not sure how long it actually was. I think I was like 7 I was probably 5 or 6. And then they realized that I don't play sports. And so we left. And I went back to motorsports. But anyways, no, when I was racing World of Outlaw World Finals at Charlotte, and she came down because it's an hour away from home, and 410 sprint car. You're going 110 miles an hour down the straightaway there, and we had a part failure, and it broke, set me into the wall. She had only seen me go on track once before because this happened in qualifying, and she after that was like, I don't like those. Which I ended up racing them the following year anyways, but she was like, I don't like those. So she wasn't a big fan of the sprint car stuff, but going into the truck, she always comes out. She really likes the off-road races up here. She tries to come to at least 1 or 2 races a year. And she really enjoys the truck stuff. So
Yeah.
I don't think she's as nervous anymore, really, because she knows that I'll be fine after seeing the sprint car wreck. She didn't like that at the time being, but I got out and there was a pretty sunset, and I was like, I'm going to take a picture of that. So I grabbed my phone and I ran to the grandstands, and I took a picture of the sky right after I got out after the car. So
Yeah. Very cool. Last question. What track, or if you could pick a track, a car, something, whatever, that you would really like to race, what is it and where is it?
I think so. There's obviously a Pro 4. I would love to race a Pro 4. That goes for any track though, up north. That's just being in a Pro 4 in general. But I think the one thing that I would absolutely kill to race is a Porsche 911 GT3 on the Porsche team for Daytona 24 hours.
Oh, that would be so cool.
It's a very exact thing, but that car has been my dream car in general. And sports car racing, I just think it's one of the coolest things there is. And endurance racing, I think, is so freaking cool. I love racing at night. Give me the night shift, please. Yeah. I think it's 10 times cooler racing at night.
Yeah.
But no, that's one thing that has been at the top. That's like the top of the list. Like if I ever did that, I'd be like, okay, I don't need to do anything else. I reached my goal, which that's never the end goal. But like, I would be like, I'm set for life. if I couldn't race again tomorrow, I'd be okay with it.
Yeah, that's the top of the bucket list for sure.
That is the top of the list, I think, for sure.
Very cool. Well, I'm going to manifest that for you. I'm going to, see you racing that. And I would love to go to the Daytona 24 hours. So maybe we can figure that out at some point. Wouldn't that be fun? Lots of fun.
That would be pretty freaking cool. It's obviously a completely different path than I'm doing right now. But at the same time, never say never. I never thought I'd end up here.
No, and look at all the things you've already done. So there's no reason to think you couldn't do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Gray, I have really enjoyed talking to you tonight. I hope you have a great weekend. I'll be watching to see how things go. And if I can ever have you on again, or something big's happening and you want to come on and talk about it, you're always welcome. And hopefully I'll see you in person one of these days and watch you race, or maybe we'll watch Night of Destruction together.
I know. Hopefully I get to come to that one next year. Maybe I will, just because you live right there.
Okay, that sounds great for sure. Well, thanks again for being on, and you have a great rest of the week. And please stay in touch.
Thank you so much. I will.
Oh. That's it for this episode of the Women's Motorsports Network podcast. We hope you've been inspired by the stories I shared today and feel more connected to the amazing community of women in motorsports. Remember, whether you're behind the wheel, in the pits, or cheering from the stands, your story matters. And together, we're driving change and celebrating every milestone. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone who loves motorsports as much as you do. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram for updates, behind the scenes content, and more incredible stories. So until next time, stay inspired, stay connected, and keep racing through life. This is the Women's Motorsports Network podcast, where every woman's story is worth celebrating.